A mixed bag of sports over the weekend here in the Valley. Welcome in the Monday edition of the lunch break right here on KDUS AM 1060. Chris Schubert with you for the next 2 hours. This is one of those days where I wish we had that third hour that everybody clamors for. Producer Evan is behind the glass. He's ready to take your phone calls today, 480-864-1060. It was a bad week for the picks. It was a bad week for ASU football. It was a win for the Cardinals, but not all that inspiring. The Diamondbacks are making us at least pay attention to them a little bit more. We'll try to get to it all here today on the program, but it was the first week of the NFL season, and the Cardinals started their year off 1-0. That is where we will start today's program.
Time for our top story of the day. It's the Daily Special.
You're not going to give it back, right? You're not going to call up Roger Goodell today and say, you know what? We didn't play our best football. We would like to be 0-1. You're going to take it. You're going to look at the standings, and you're going to see yourself in a tie for first place still after week one, and you're going to move on to next week's home opener against the Carolina Panthers. But we asked all last week, can we get the statement victory from the Arizona Cardinals? Can they start the year off making some noise? The answer was no. It was not a statement win yesterday. It was anything but. Left me asking some questions about this team. And unfortunately, they are some of the same questions we were asking about this team all throughout last season. But at the end of the day, they went into New Orleans with a quarterback who was under the weather. They got a 20-13 win in New Orleans. They're 1-0 to start the year. And you look at some of the under-the-hood numbers, and you're not surprised that they won the football game, right? Didn't turn the ball over. That's an important thing for Kyler Murray in this offense. They were 6 for 13 on third down. They ran the football well, 146 yards on the ground with all of their rushers. Kyler Murray was consistent. They didn't really throw the ball deep down the field all that much, but Kyler Murray, 21 of 29, threw for 2 touchdowns, didn't throw the ball into a tight window and make a stupid play and turn the ball over. So you took care of the football. You ran the football well. Your defense held the Saints to 13 points. Yeah, you should win most of the games when those three things happen. Unfortunately, this game was close late in the fourth quarter. The Saints had the ball driving to tie the game. Now, mind you, I don't know if this thought crossed any of your minds while watching the game, but I did think to myself, you go for 2 here if you score the touchdown, right? Home game, first game of the season. You're not expected to do much this year. You're a first-time head coach. You show that aggressiveness off in week one.
I think we were all thinking it, right? Especially I'm always a believer in you just have to see where the clock is, 2 on the 2. Like, I would never go for 2 with over a minute left because then the team comes out, is more aggressive to get a field goal, whereas if you can get a sack or one big stop, we'll just go play for overtime. With seconds left on the clock, they're going for 2 there. 100 times out of 100.
The pass to Olave that turned the ball over on downs was with 4 seconds left.
And so I'm getting up there, and I know I've put together a long drive. It felt like, even I will tell you, the Saints went up, and they said this on the broadcast, the Saints went up and clocked it late in the game. I thought they were going to run a play because the Cardinals couldn't get anybody off the field, and they were gassed defensively.
It was a 13-play drive. It only took up 1 minute and 49 seconds. They ran 13 plays in that time frame. But the defense gets the stop. The Cardinals are winners. And again, we're not going to give the win back today. We're going to celebrate that the team is 1-0. We're going to celebrate the team scored more points on offense than any other team in their division did this week in week one. We're going to talk about how defensively they looked good. They kept the Saints off the board. We'll talk about the pass rush in hour number 2 of the program. But this was not the statement that we all wanted. I'm still today wondering, what version of this offense are we going to get? Took way too long to get Marvin Harrison Jr. involved in the offense. Took way too long to get him the targets that we think he needs to get in this offense. Once again, wondering who's going to be the number 2 wide receiver, because after Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride, you know what I see? 1 catch for Tip Ryman. 1 catch for Trey Benson, 4 catches for James Conner. Those are tight ends and running backs. These are the other wide receivers in this offense. Michael Wilson, 1 catch, 5 yards on 4 targets. Zay Jones, 1 catch, 4 yards on 1 target. Greg Dortch, 1 catch, -2 yards on 1 target. Still wondering who's going to emerge as the second option in this offense. That is still a question mark that I have. So all of the things we were worried about coming into the season, I don't feel better about. And I wanted you to go into this game on Sunday, take care of business. Make it non-competitive going into the fourth quarter. And you know what the sad part is? They had a golden chance to do so. We talked on Friday, I think it was, about how we were going to evaluate and grade Kyler Murray's performance in this game. And I do want to give Kyler a little bit of an excuse, a little bit of an off-ramp, because he was sick. Apparently was sick until the early hours of the morning and gutted it out and played for his team. So it's week 1 as well. So I don't want to immediately jump to the criticism of the quarterback, because there are reasons for why it got off to a slow start. But you had a chance to do exactly what we outlined on Friday. We said we were going to judge Kyler Murray on how this offense functioned on those drives that you just circled. You just circle drives throughout the course of the game and you say, we need points on these drives. This is a drive that has to end in 6. And sure enough, in week 1, we had exactly that type of drive. You come out, and in your first drive of the third quarter, you go 6 plays, 49 yards, and you take a 20-10 lead. You have a 2-possession lead here in the second half. And then the Saints get the ball back, and they go on a long drive. They go 14 plays, 53 yards, 5 minutes, and they have this emotional letdown. They miss the field goal. They go on this long drive, and they're going to end in 3 points. They're going to make it a 1-possession game. With the way their defense had been playing, they would be play inspired, knowing that they could get their offense the ball back with a chance to tie it, and they miss the field goal. That's where you needed the killer instinct. That's where you needed the drive of all drives. You pull all the tricks out of the toolbox. Drew Petzing needed to get in his bag on that drive. You go up, you score a touchdown, you take a 27-10 lead, and guess what? I think we're talking today about a game that went exactly how we wanted it to on Friday, where they have the game in hand in the fourth quarter, and they were in firm control of the game all throughout. But yet, you go 5 plays, 11 yards, and you punt, and you don't score the points. And in fact, you don't score any points the rest of the game. You miss a field goal later on in the game. You had your chance there on that drive after they missed that field goal to go for the kill, to go for the drive that ended this game. Okay, played around a little bit. It's week 1, dusting off the cobwebs. Everybody's trying to get into gear. That's nice. We played a competitive first half. You gave us an opening. You opened the door. We're going to break the door down. We're going to kick the door in off of its hinges. They didn't do that. They had a chance to do that. And so if we're just grading it off of that possession alone, you left a lot to be desired. Your defense, especially the pass rush, left a lot to be desired. I still have questions about this play calling. I mentioned it took way too long to get Marvin Harrison Jr. involved in this offense. There was a play early. I think it was the first pass play of the game. They ran a play where Trey McBride was in motion, and he went right out to the flat, and it was just a quick Kyler got the ball right out to Trey McBride.
It's their first down of the game.
Where are those plays for Marvin Harrison Jr.? That is a schemed play to get the ball into Trey McBride's hands early in the game. Where are those plays for Marvin Harrison Jr.? And I hate that on a day where the Cardinals win and they're 1-0 and they're tied for the division, I'm still left asking the same questions. Now, to put a positive spin on this for a second, while they didn't play great, while their offense still left me with a bunch of question marks, I've seen this team, this franchise, play that exact game and lose. They play with their food a little bit. They allow a team that they are much better than on paper hang around, and they lose those games because they allow the team to hang around. They didn't allow that to happen. And this isn't college football. And don't worry, I have plenty of thoughts on the college football from over the weekend that we're going to get to here in a little bit.
Speaking of college football, I want to congratulate Brian. Arkansas. I mean, they took it to Arkansas State.
I am somewhat surprised that the phone wasn't ringing the moment that the Open played today to dunk on me and the show for the way that we conducted ourselves on Friday with Brian.
A 52-14 win for Arkansas.
And Brian also won the pick segment for the week.
He did.
Because you didn't get a pick right, and so he guaranteed tied or beat you.
To have two of my picks driving at the end of the game and fumble inside the red zone is so killer. That's how I lost both picks. Are you kidding me? Whatever.
You're 0-3 to start the year. I'm only 1-2. I wasn't that much better than you, so you're fine. It's still a long season. But Brian, all you have to do in the pick segment is tie one of us. And so when you don't get any of the picks right, it's pretty easy to tie us. It's pretty easy to make sure that you win the pick'em segment on Friday. I'm surprised he didn't open the show. But I've seen the Cardinals lose this game before. And this isn't college. Style points don't matter. 1-0. That's all that matters for the Cardinals. And we know this team's going to have to get to at least 9, probably get to 10 or 11 to make the postseason. Well, guess what? That's 1. And we said you have to go 4-2, 5-1 to start this schedule. You took care of business in the first game that you were supposed to win. This is a game on the schedule. You were supposed to win. You're supposed to be 1-0. You're supposed to walk into the home opener next week against Carolina 1-0. You did that. It was ugly. It wasn't pretty for 4 quarters. I've got a lot of question marks that we're going to try to evaluate here throughout the week. But it's much easier to have those conversations when you're talking about a 1-0 football team. Because you know what? We could be talking about how great an offense Baltimore has. They're 0-1 to start the year. Trust me, we'll get to that in the NFL Rewind at the bottom of the hour. You could be 0-1 today, asking a lot of questions about yourself. Instead, the Cardinals are 1-0, and we're asking questions. Guess what? That's what good/great teams do. They find ways to win, and they address their issues throughout the week. So it's a mixed bag, right? I think you get the win. You're happy about the win. You're happy about starting 1-0. You're happy about winning a game in which you didn't play your sharpest. It's week 1. You dusted the cobwebs off. You didn't have that crushing loss in week 1 in a game that you're supposed to win. But I don't feel better about the wide receiver room. I don't feel better about the way the offense looked. I don't feel that much better about the way Kyler Murray's going to play. I still have all of those same questions here going into week 2.
Yeah, there is a lot to be desired from week 1. I think you said it most importantly. That is a game they lost last year in Carolina.
Right, exactly.
And so you take your takeaways, understand there's a lot to be fixed. You are 1-0 in the National Football League, and that's what matters, right? So now you have Carolina next week. Address your situation, address what went wrong in week 1, and understand what we have to fix. But also know you're 1-0, and I thought the Saints admittedly looked better than I had thought they did on paper.
Well, Alvin Kamara was really good in the game.
Alvin Kamara was really good, and I'll say it, like, Rattler wasn't as bad as I thought he would be.
No, didn't turn the ball over, right? Didn't throw an interception in the game. There were no turnovers on either side of the ball. I thought the defense played better. 5 sacks for the Saints defense.
And we'll talk about some of those, I'm sure. But, yeah, I thought the Saints looked better than I had originally assessed them to, which tend to be what I thought of for a couple teams around the league.
Yeah, certainly week 1, you now get to see if your suspicions about a team throughout the course of the offseason through the summer months is true or false, at least through the first week of the year. And we got some confirmation on maybe some things that we believed. And at least for me personally, there were some things I thought about teams that just flat out wrong, at least through 1 week
certainly
of the season. And so that's why we do the NFL Rewind. We get to share our thoughts on all of those games. So we'll do that here in just a little bit.